You may have noticed that you have slower or chunky playback if you have an older or underpowered machine when you try to push this larger red footage through the After Effects pipeline, especially when you start talking about doing something like Keen or Roto. If you're having chuggy playback or your frames are taking a long time to advance forwards or backwards, something we can do is take advantage of a proxy workflow. And before I take you through what it is, it's very simple to do. After Effects handles it very nicely. I just want to give you a big warning that this is not something we would do normally in a traditional VFX pipeline. We would normally try to work at the original footage. We would try to take advantage of all of the color data and all the resolution. But for the sake of being able to work through these assignments, I'm going to show you what proxy workflow really looks like. So normally if we have this issue where if we're playing back, on my machine, it's not playing back super fast, and you want to be able to kind of scrub through, you want to be able to see things play back, you want to be able to see the results of all your effects work. There's a way to work around this. So what we're going to do is use the proxy workflow. If we look to our project window, we can see we have some red footage. You can just very easily right click create proxy, and we're going to make a movie. First off, it'll ask you for a location. What I'd like to do is in my footage folders, I'd like to create a proxy folder. So I know where the footage is going to actually go. And then in my actual naming, I like to just stick a PXY prefix just in front, just so wherever I go, whether I'm looking for the folder, when I'm in After Effects, I know that I'm dealing with a proxy piece of footage. It's not getting mixed up, but you can see it automatically drops in the name of the footage that's coming from. You tell it to save. And then when we go to the render queue, there's just some things to check. I like to go to the draft settings, make sure that I'm at best and full. So I'm still dealing with the same full resolution, but what we're going to do is we're going to essentially transcode this to a more friendly playback format. So what does that really mean? It means that we're going to go ahead and go from whatever format you have set up currently, AVI. I'd like to go to QuickTime. And if I start to go to my format options, what we'll probably look at is either something called ProRes 444 or Apple ProRes 422. ProRes 4444 is probably the highest quality. It's going to have a fairly large file size. It's actually going to probably be larger than the red footage itself, but it's going to have the best amount of color depth. It's going to have the best amount of resolution, the least amount of compression artifacts. But if you have even more playback issues with the ProRes 4444, you can always go down to ProRes 422. For now, let's just go ahead and say ProRes 422. You can see that After Effects, when I set the proxy, it automatically did this post-render action. So there's a lot of other things you can do if you're working with footage, but in this situation, it's automatically set up proxy. And then I'm going to just hit OK. And then you can see I have my file. Just to refresh, we have the proxy folder. We have the proxy kind of preset or prefix in front of it. We hit save, and then we're going to go and tell it to render. It's probably going to be pretty quick, probably a minute, minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes on my machine. But then we'll take a look at what After Effects does afterwards and where the footage goes and how we know for sure that we've got a proxy file. So now that we've finished the render, you can take a look over here. You can see the comp that After Effects automatically made when we decided to set up the proxy workflow. The big thing right here is you can see from our back, the icon itself has changed. We've got this little icon, this little square. And then we also know when we select it, we can see that there's a red footage and there's an Apple ProRes 422. I wish this was a little bit more bold, or they did something a little bit more to kind of call out that this is active. But the dead giveaway here is that this box is checked in. If we click it off, you can see that my icon changed. And then you can see also that this is a little bit bolder. I can try flipping back and forth. You can see more by the type by actually bouncing more than anything. I wish they, like I said, would call it out a little bit more. But the cool thing here is that if we double click on the footage now, you can see proxy enabled is there. And then when we hit playback, it's much, much quicker. And just visually, when you look at it, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a difference. You'll probably notice it as we start getting into something like pulling keys, that the edges, you may have some color compression in there. You may have a little bit more chatter. But for the most part, you should be able to use this technique to be able to make your workflow a lot more efficient, and that your playback will be a lot quicker. And again, the last thing I could kind of tell you about is that, just so you know, when we go here, if we click this off, you can see how much slower it is trying to play back, build up the cache. And you can tell that the proxy has been turned off, and you'll see this much quicker now.